Being able to control playback is really important, and to do this, there's an entire series of controls. If you don't see it, make sure you locate the Preview panel. This can be accessed from the workspace or by choosing the Window menu and selecting Preview. At the top is a Panel menu. This allows you to make a few changes. For example, if you want to undock the panel, you can, and that will make it free-floating. Or you could take a look at some of the settings here, how it's going to behave in relationship to others. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these controls. From top to bottom, you've got your basic playback controls, allowing you to jump to the first frame of the composition or the last. Let's adjust the scaling here a little bit. You can also navigate backwards a single frame at a time. Holding the Shift key down and clicking that button will now jump you 10 frames at a time. Same thing for going forward. This button here is useful to reset everything back to the defaults. Normally, you'll want to adjust the shortcut button for playback. If you come from video editing tools, you're probably used to the spacebar. When you press that button, it will invoke playback. Pressing it again will stop. If you want to get the smoothest playback quality, you might choose the option to cache before playback. Now, the frames are going to be written to disk, if needed, and then played back. The range controls what happens. By default, work area will only play back between the beginning and the end. If you choose the next option for extended, this means that it will play the work area plus wherever the playhead is. Next is your frame rate. Remember, the composition settings control the overall frame rate for the particular project. So these are going to normally be matched. But if you want to simulate another frame rate, you can override this here to get an idea of what's happening. You also may decide to change the resolution. If you're doing something like particle effects or green screen, forcing it to preview at full quality may be necessary. On the other hand, if you want to override that just so you get faster playback, well, every time you drop this, it's going to speed things up. Just realize that visual quality will drop, but performance is going to be fantastic, even on older computers. If you'd like, you can also force the playback to be full screen. This can be quite useful if working with a client. All the distractions of the user interface are removed, and you can just focus on the animation itself and get a pretty good idea of how things are working. Pressing the spacebar again will stop the preview. So that's ultimately up to you to decide. These options will greatly affect how things work on playback, so make sure you give them a little bit of experimentation to see which ones are best for you. It is a matter of personal taste.